The following episode contains spoilers, and be sure to follow our podcast on these available platforms.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Nocturnal Movie Club. We are back. It is 2025. And of course, I'm joined by my esteemed co-host, Mr. J. King and Mr. Josh Gavin. How you doing?
Hey, doing good. How are you?
Good. I think we're a lot of pre-talk going on before the show starts, but 2024, we're going over the 2024 movie year of like our top five best and our top five worst. I think some of you guys are going to agree with a lot of it, obviously, but I'm gonna start off with you, Jake. Give me number one on your top five best.
So wait, are we going from
Well,
bottom?
sorry, no, I want to go with number five. Sorry.
Okay, so um, at the bottom of the list, number five would be Dune Part Two.
Ah,
Mhm. My God, Dune turned out so well.
it did.
Yeah,
I
and
love I love Dune Part Two.
yeah, no, I really liked it too. I think one of the things I noticed, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this a lot with a bunch of movies, like I feel like some people are overhyping it, like saying like it's the greatest thing ever. You watch it and you're like, I really wish I saw what they were talking about because this was great, but not like Godfather great, if we want to use an example like that.
Well, I mean, I think that part of why the hype has been so aggressive is that Dune is this legendary sci-fi novella epic, and no one really knew, especially coming off of the David Lynch film, how you could actually make Dune a cinematic story because it's so huge and has such tremendous scope. And I think that Denis Villeneuve did a fantastic job capturing the sheer weight of both the the worms and the world and the politics. And it's honestly, I think, Timothy Chalamet's best performance of the year.
Hmm. No, he was actually really good in it. Like, although towards the end, I don't know whether I liked his or Comic Lachlan's version of Silence.
Honestly, like I mean, because I'm going to go with Chalamet, honestly, because he
You
did a,
think you think he has a better performance in Dune than A Complete Unknown?
yes, honestly,
Oh,
yes.
Really?
Like with Complete Unknown, which was a film that was honestly kind of mid in my opinion.
I
Chalamet kind
agree.
of gave the performance you expected. Like it takes tremendous skill to capture Bob Dylan like that, so I don't want to act like it's easy. Anyone can do it. It's just you kind of got what you paid for with his performance as Bob Dylan, and maybe part of it is I feel like Timothy Chalamet has kind of been feeling all over the place the last few years, so overseas like creeping on oversaturation. But with Dune kind of
Really?
going,
I mean, he's only doing like 2024, he only had two movies. 2023, he only had Wonka. Like,
But
I
they were
don't,
high profile movies,
yeah.
so
and you can blame
that's
the
why it feels
marketing, honestly.
overexposed.
Like I think part of it's also the marketing and social media and everything. They're kind of trying to make him a huge name, but I
Yeah.
feel like his performance in Dune is significantly more layered as he's sort of going from this reluctant chosen one into becoming a tyrant. And it's performed with subtlety, but with bombast when needed. It's the most where I felt like he lost himself in the character, and I
Yeah.
think he did a fantastic job.
And everything that was great about the first film, I felt was doubled down on this. The visuals, the score, the sound mixing. Like this was
Mm-hmm.
a cinematic experience.
It really was. I didn't put the first one on a best list because I wanted to see how the second one would go, and I think that just as a whole, it's a masterpiece. I can't
I
wait. I
think
haven't seen it
more than
yet.
anything, I think Zendaya did a lot of heavy lifting in Dune Part Two as well.
Yeah.
She did. She was incredible.
Yeah. And speaking of Zendaya, number four for me would be Challengers.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Challenger was.
I have to admit, like when I watched the trailer, I did
I'm like Zendaya in my two white boys.
Okay, okay. Which one are we?
Oh, hmm. Well, I mean, your name is already Josh, so I would have to go with Josh.
I'll take
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. So just to make it easy, and plus you're kind of blonde already, so
Yeah, I
let's
think
put
that
it
sounds
that way.
about it.
Yes.
So
But
Jake, what do you like about Challengers so much?
Well, for one thing, like when I watched the trailer, I didn't think I was going to like it. I felt like I already knew what this movie was going to be about. I knew whether or not I was going to like these characters, whether or not it was going to be for me. But what I liked about the way this director handled it is that he made it interesting. It was like it wasn't just a love triangle. It was almost like a modern day Shakespeare tale. It was almost like
Hmm.
watching Zendaya's Lady Macbeth putting these two people together, like
yeah.
putting them against each other. I love how my camera's like zooming in on me, like as I'm saying this.
Well, it's emphasizing the importance of what you're saying. It
It
knows it deserves
does.
a close up.
And and I have to say, like the visuals of this movie were like stupendous, like especially with the way they filmed the tennis matches, like how they kind of start mundane, but as they go along, they get more intense. Especially, I love that shot where you're following the ball as it's going back and
Ball
forth.
POV shot was so cool.
That was like one of the most impressive shots I've seen all year.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying Zendaya as a leading lady.
Mhm.
I think she's making really smart choices and very strategic, but also still artistic.
Yeah.
Um, but also very still business savvy because she's also producing a lot of everything that she's in for the most part, minus Dune, of course. But
I think she's
uh,
trying to get out of TV and she's doing a successful job at
yeah, I think she's doing a successful job, and I think even next year she's gonna, with her slate already that she's working with Nolan, I think
it.
I think Zendaya is becoming an amazing leading actress for sure.
Hmm. Plus, also, Challengers kind of feels like it's building on the fact that this year, with that and Baby Girl and a few other films, it feels like sexy movies are kind of finally making a comeback.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
But like,
interesting
but
because it
smart though, but
feels
like
sexy.
smart, sexy movies,
mhm,
not just like, sex and like there's nothing, no substance there. There's like, look at the substance, but like there's content there, that not just more than just sex.
Yeah, it's got
right.
the vibe. Like this, the director Luca, how do you pronounce his last name?
Isn't
Uh,
Guadagnino?
Guadagnino, yeah.
Yes. One of the things I liked about his films, like it's not just that they're quirky, but he understands the vibe of what he's going for. And as I was mentioning before, there's like almost no sex that happens in Challengers, but you just feel the chemistry between everybody. Like
Hmm.
it's like it doesn't matter whether or not you like the characters. You see why they're all there. You feel a purpose for all of them.
I'm not gonna lie though, I kind of liked Queer more
Mm.
than Challengers, just because I feel like the longing and energy and kind of the molding of the lust and sexiness combined with that feeling of a desire for connection was just so much more poignant in that film than Challengers. But I still enjoy Challengers, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of sexy movies, we're moving on to number three for me. And my third favorite movie of the year was Love Lies Bleeding.
Mm, that was
Ah,
fun. Also,
That
yeah.
is,
John Waters is number one.
see, me and John Waters, we have quite similar taste.
All
And by the
tight.
way, I finally saw Polyester this year. Dude, love that movie.
Yay, Polyester's awesome. I still prefer Multiple Maniacs. That's like my favorite of his, but
Uh,
Polyester's fun.
I don't know. Female Trouble is probably like riding up the top for me.
I
It's
don't
a good
think
shot.
people give I don't think people give Kristen Stewart enough credit how incredible of an actress she is.
Yeah.
Oh, she's phenomenal. Like, I'm so happy that she's kind of now become just generally accepted as a fantastic actress.
I
She's
don't know if they still I don't know if they are accepting of that just yet.
really. Are
I
people
think
still
people
digging
don't
on Twilight?
I think they're sleeping on her still.
Yeah, but yeah, that was like a long time ago. I think people are like
Exactly.
long past Twilight. The only one who hasn't arguably escaped it is probably Taylor Lautner because Robert Pattinson's now the Batman.
Like, honestly, if you told me tomorrow that Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart were doing another movie together, I would go see it like immediately. And those two, but I feel like Robert Pattinson's definitely gotten more positive attention than Kristen Stewart has for her growth.
I don't think so. Like I feel like I've watched Kristen Stewart grow as an actress. Like, do you ever see that one where she played Princess Diana?
Mm-hmm.
Of
Spencer, yeah.
course.
Yeah,
That was
Spencer's
great.
fantastic. I'm not saying that she hasn't improved herself or done the
Oh
work.
no,
I'm
no,
just
no.
talking about the general public's
The general
perception.
public, I think that affair still plagues her a little bit,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm.
But I mean,
from
she got significant acclaim for Happiest Season. I feel like at that point I think I think that movie people were starting to like really notice.
Well, also Crimes of the Future. She worked with Cronenberg. Like that's got to count for something, and she was
It
great.
does, but you can't forget duds like Charlie's Angel.
Yeah, but that
Makes you question, like, girl, what are you thinking?
Hey, look, we all need to get paid once in a while. Sometimes you do one because you're trying to put a down payment on a fridge, so you do what you can.
That's true. Okay. I'll give
But
it for that.
Love Lies Bleeding was a tremendous amount of fun.
it
Like
was.
that's
I,
just, Mhm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying because not who is the other actress? The one I'm trying to remember.
Katie O'Brien.
Yeah, she was incredible. Like she was like when you talk about physical performance where you're kind of letting your body communicate emotion, she just killed it.
Yeah.
No, she's been
And I
having kind of a breakout last 2 years from The Mandalorian to
Mhm.
Twisters to Love Lies Bleeding to Quantumania.
Mhm.
But she's been like really booked and busy, and I think I'm excited to see her career blossom.
Yeah, and speaking of Marvel, and Katie O'Brien going to She-Hulk for a minute, Josh. This is who I would have picked to play She-Hulk.
He would have killed it as
He would
She-Hulk.
have killed as She-Hulk.
Like
Yeah,
in
and
this
I don't
movie, it's
mind.
like
I
I
like the
felt
other
like she
actresses.
could rip you apart. Like they conveyed that really well, especially in that scene with Dave Franco.
Yeah, like honestly, I kind of wish they could do what they used to do with the Lou Ferrigno Hulk movie and just change actors like for the transformation sequence rather than doing the CGI. Because I would have definitely cast her to be like She-Hulk superhero proper. Like just do a casting shift.
Well, the
Like
crazy part is that Tatiana Maslany kind of looks like Katie O'Brien, and they look like they could be related to me, like a little bit.
exactly. Like I would just do that. It would look looked better than the CGI. That's for sure.
Yeah, but let me tell you something.
Oh
The scenes with her and Kristen Stewart, extremely hot.
yeah.
Like
Hmm.
I agree with you, Josh. It feels like sexy cinema is back, and it feels like they've cracked the code at this point.
Sexy's back. They're bringing sexy back. They don't need Justin for it.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing was the movie, aside from that, the movie was very interesting. It kept me like all throughout the entire thing. Like, and I was kind of curious to see where it was heading. And it, I just had fun throughout this entire film.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, Ed Harris was having fun too. Like
Oh
he
yeah, and
just
his haircut.
Oh, he was eating that shit up. Ed Harris was eating it up.
like you're
But,
always going to get a good performance with him, but he was clearly just having a lot of fun.
oh yeah, but he does well with that because I was like, even him and West, it's like anytime he gets like the chance, he's gonna like just devour.
Yeah, like I remember him from a History of Violence, and he definitely played like a creepy, like foreboding sleaze in that too.
He does that well. He does that really well. That is Ed Harris.
Different levels too. I mean, his character in the Truman Show is technically a sleazebag, but he's
True.
like he's a manipulator in that sense
He's God. He's the creator
of a
of.
television show that gives out hope and inspiration to millions.
Well, same thing with Westworld, right? He was the creator and God essentially of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
nothing's going to top his performance in The Rock though.
Hmm.
oh yes.
Like that is probably the most commanding he's ever been in any movie.
Yeah, excuse me one sec. My camera
Oh,
just.
and he was God one more time in Snowpiercer.
Hmm. He should do a
Which
movie
was
with
God a
Morgan
lot.
Freeman. They should have a God off or something.
He plays God as much as Morgan Freeman does.
But a much more scary way.
Yeah, he's vengeful God, and Morgan Freeman is
Right.
loving God.
Maybe he should just start playing Lucifer.
I would totally see that. I would totally see a movie where Morgan Freeman is God and Ed Harris is Lucifer.
That makes sense. And not, just saying. So, Jake, what do you got at number two?
At number two, I have The Wild Robot.
Ah, I love that my
I,
list
I
is
see your face,
nothing on
Josh.
your list so far is like on my list at all.
I just haven't seen it yet. That's what sucks. Like I've
It's
been wanting
really
to see it.
charming.
It is. What I loved about it so much is that it felt like an animated Frank Capra movie because this robot shows up in this forest and like everybody despises it. Like all the animals are like against it. But you see, the more time she spent there, the more time she spends raising this gosling, they all kind of come together to help. And by the end, you felt like they got a community there. And I thought that was really cool to see. not only that, but like the music was great. The visuals were spectacular. Like I'm gonna be repeating
My
myself, but
favorite thing about the Wild Robot, honestly, is the score.
yeah,
It's so it like moves, it'll make you cry. Chris Bowers, who's done the score and composed all the music for the film, he's just like unforgettable. Like he's so freaking talented. I've talked to him a few different times, and every time I just like bow at him just because he's so freaking talented. Um,
yeah. That the track, The Migration, I listened to over and over again. Like that's a beautiful track.
It's beautiful. You can watch on YouTube, I think. I don't know if it is on YouTube or not, but I've seen it. But they showed it to me a couple times. But you can see like him creating the score for the film, and he just does like it's so interesting and it's so engaging. And I think he's just super talented. Like I think any kind of film he's working on, I'm just like I just want to see it just for his even just for his score alone. I just want to watch it
Yeah,
because
honestly, I would like watch it for like everybody involved. I felt everyone gave it their A game with this, like in terms of the animation, the music, the voice acting. Like I would say even the writing too, because as much as this movie made me cry, there was like a lot of really good moments of dark humor that actually gelled really well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean the voice acting was phenomenal from Lupita to Pedro, to Kit Connor. It had like a stellar cast, so like it was a great film.
Yeah, it was like one of those ones where you just heard like so many positive reviews coming in. You walk in, you're like, okay, let's see what this has got. But then all of a sudden, about halfway through, you're like hooked. You don't even notice, but you got hooked.
Well, because like for like a mainstream animated film, it felt like there was a bit of grit to it, that I enjoyed. That like it had like a indie lens almost in a way.
Yeah, it did have a bit of an indie lens.
But it's a very sweet, charming film that will like easily just knows what to like what string to pull to like get the tears going.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just happy that it was successful because it felt like this past year with Wild Robot, but also Flow and one from I really love Robot Dreams. It felt like animation that wasn't just from the Disney and DreamWorks and Illumination camps. We're starting to get more mainstream attention and starting to get their flowers, and that just makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jake, what do you got number one?
Okay. And number one, drum roll, The Substance.
Yay! Love the
Uh,
substance. Demi Moore better get her Oscar. God damn it, she was fantastic.
she
Yes. The
was.
movie was legitimately fantastic.
I
Like,
mean, I haven't had a film like that grab me and
Mhm.
like pull me to the screen in like a very long time.
yeah, because I don't know if I had mentioned it on this podcast, but I was wanting to see like a new Stanley Kubrick style film, and I felt like I got my wish with this. And then all of
Mhm.
a sudden it delved into Sam Peckinpah like at the last third. And like
And
I
then
just felt giddy while watching it.
and then Tokyo Shock at the last second with so much blood, just so much blood spraying on everybody as one giant fuck you to an entire industry. I loved every second of it.
Yes.
Oh,
As far as a lot of movies and TV are concerned, like when it comes to picking apart the entertainment industry and how sexist and how idealistic it is, I felt this movie did an excellent job where they didn't overstate it too much. They actually let the
yeah.
visuals do the storytelling, and they
Yeah.
got creative with all of their visuals.
Yeah, because if you think about it, I'm trying to think of it's like there's not that much dialogue, right? Like
No,
It really isn't. It's mostly just the workouts, the close-ups on people's bodies, and just things squishing and squeezing.
yeah, and all the best ones were belong to Dennis Quaid. I love like the way they shot all of his scenes. Even his first scene when like he's like on the side of the camera and it's like so up close. It's like I don't
And
know.
when he's just chewing, he just looks so gross and sticky the entire movie. Like the sound design and sound mixing was
yes.
incredible. Like every time he was eating dinner or eating anything, and you just hear him squish and crunch was so vile. I loved it.
I
Yes.
mean, it's so funny because she said in her speech, like, I can only imagine like what she thought when she got the script. I'm like, and she said it, she said it best, like, this is either gonna be really brilliant or really bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Let that
and
be a lesson to everybody in Hollywood. Like take a gamble every once in a while.
Risks
right?
reward.
And good on Mubi, like coming out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, Mubi, way to get in there in the Hollywood game.
Yeah, they're stepping up. I'm happy about it. And thankfully, they did put out a physical release. Hint, hint, Netflix, you can put out physical releases of movies while having them available on your streaming service. I already pre-ordered it, so and also, let's just not forget because as much as awesome as Demi Moore was, Margaret Qualley also was
Oh
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like she kind of just shifted from being fun to sinister so effortlessly, and all of her reaction shots when her body was changing were incredible. Were like very visceral. I still remember the scene when like she was in the middle of a workout of doing one of the workout tapings and a bump just comes up on her ass and you just heard a squish and she just looked petrified. It was
It's so
like
visceral.
I almost started like touching my own body to be like, did I feel something? Did something pop somewhere? It was really awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Margaret Qualley has been quietly giving us like bangers like for years now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is like her first time, film wise, like, really just like being like super front and center. Maybe like Sanctuary, she was front and center,
Did,
but like,
did you see Drive Away Dolls last year?
Mm-mm.
oh no, but I heard good things about it though.
It
I
was
heard mixed
fun.
things.
It was a fun, cute road trip movie. I felt like it kind of showed off her range incredibly well because in that scene she's definitely a more high energy comedy and her timing was really good and her chemistry was great. I wouldn't be surprised if she takes up more comedic roles like that again because she's not
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
is very expressive. She's incredibly expressive and she has incredible vocal control. So having this and the substance, it showed just how wide a spectrum she has as an actress, which is really cool.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you can see that in just the type of projects she's picking. I think since she's came on the scene, I've been like, okay, I see you.
You
I think
mentioned
she's,
Sanctuary earlier, right?
yeah. Huh?
You mentioned Sanctuary before, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
she was great in that too.
Yeah, she was great in that too. And I'm like, okay, and she is like has Happy Gilmore too coming up. I'm like,
Oh
okay.
man. Happy Gilmore
Right.
too.
I mostly just want to see it for MJF. I'm not gonna
Mm.
lie.
Uh,
That's
well,
kind of it.
we'll see if he can act. Because I think Seth Rollins just now we're in WWE land, wrestling talk, but I think Seth Rollins got cut from Captain
He
America.
did get cut, and I feel bad for him about that because I was actually looking forward to seeing because wasn't he going to be like a high-ranking member of the Serpent Society or something? But we don't even know
Hmm.
what plot line is going to stay in the new Captain America movie. So
Which is crazy.
yeah, it makes so much sense. Why would you cut that? And I felt so bad for Seth Rollins. I wanted to see where he could do because I did catch I caught Drew McIntyre in it was that Batista movie that came out this year, Killing, I think it was called Killing Game or something. And
Oh,
he was actually solid in it. He was one of the killers and he wasn't in it very long, but
oh, Batista. I mean, I wanted to like say bad things about Batista, and then I saw The Last Showgirl. I'm like, okay.
I'm
Mhm.
seeing it next week. Like so he's really fantastic in it.
No, he's good. Like, cause like, but before I was worried about like his choices in terms of like projects. I was like, okay, you like rushing to get out of Marvel to do this, and then I'm like, okay, okay, this makes sense now. Like,
Yeah,
let's,
He's a legitimately good actor outside of Marvel.
yeah,
yeah, I think he's trying to be very strategic because he definitely has his action movie trope staple films like Killing Game or My Spy and these other films that you kind of predict that he would do. But then he'll pull out like he's in Dune, he's in Last Showgirl, he was in Knock on the Cabin Door, and I've never seen him give a bland performance in any of
no,
those.
he's giving range.
Yeah.
So it's like it's only a matter of time before he gets that meaty that Oscar role, and I hope he gets that soon.
Well, it's so funny. I wish he would have been in the new Rock movie that he's doing, the new wrestling movie that The Rock is doing.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
Oh,
the oh, it was the A24 MMA film, right?
yeah, yeah. Sorry, it's not wrestling, but it's MMA.
Yeah,
Um, he would have been great. Like, but I feel like some of I guess Batista and Rock are the only people to really like branch out from that. Um, but I feel like they have like an unwritten rule where like I don't even think I've seen those two people together.
Mm.
Yeah, me neither. I've seen him work in a movie with Rob Van Dam over Dwayne Johnson. But the difference between the two, I think, is that Dwayne Johnson hasn't really. I mean, we'll see how this new MMA film turns out, but he really hasn't done a challenging film since Pain and Gain.
No,
But
Oh my
that was
gosh.
legitimately his best role.
100%. But Batista kind of is actually trying to do meaty, interesting roles. Like it
Yeah.
seems like he really wants to make the most of this new career side of him. So
Yeah, I agree. 'Cause I think he was bored,
Yeah.
with like the big budget, big action formula. And I
mhm.
think I think that's, part reason why he started to get really talkative. Um, and I think, he's doing stuff now that I think is interest to him, and shows that he's more than an action star.
Yeah. The Rock, I feel like he has like way too many successful business prospects that it's like he doesn't even care about his Hollywood career anymore.
I'll bring up The Rock eventually on this podcast. I promise.
Oh, well,
Um,
speaking of that, Josh, let's kick it off. Coming in at number five.
Okay, number five on my best. This film is one I kind of had my eye on for a hot minute. It was called The Seed and the Sacred Fig. It's a film out of Iran about this father who is a revolutionary court judge in Tehran, and he's basically getting more paranoid that he's under investigation, and he starts turning on his own family, thinking that
Oh,
they might be plotting against him.
oh,
Aside from just the insane story that Mohammed Rasulov had went through just to make the film, whether it's filming it in secret and or needing to escape Iran with his cast just to get the movie released. It's a very tense drama that just really gets you under your skin about how much this system that they're in is just tearing these people apart. Like you kind of get the sense in the beginning that this father is initially maybe he's a bit strict and maybe a bit old fashioned, but a normal person. But the paranoia of being in this role just eats away at his entire life, and it's a haunting. It basically becomes a horror movie in the latter act because there's a recurring theme. I mean, there's already a recurring theme in the film about the transition of away from the more conservative and religious values into a more modern society between him and the mother, but also his daughters. And
mm.
the idea of they present the idea of people who like, woe is the man who has little faith, and the way they kind of parallel having little faith in religion as opposed to having little faith in your family. It's tragic. It's a very haunting experience to watch, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out. Coming in number four.
Number four was Anora.
Uh,
I just heard that Criterion is releasing it, and I am incredibly happy about that. Anora.
Nora, Nora was great. I was like, when I heard the elevator pitch of like real life Pretty Woman, I was like, okay, I'm in. And then I watched it. I was like, oh shit, okay, this
No,
is.
it's not.
I was like, oh,
Well, Honora had some of the most well realized character work I think I've seen all year, where you can kind of tell even after the movie ends where these characters are going. And if
yeah,
you just happen to make a sequel just for the sake of just seeing where these characters are in their life, I would totally watch it. I thought that it was very beautiful. I thought
I
that
agree.
Madison's performance, especially hearing it, I hadn't really paid attention to her until this movie, and then I watched interviews afterward. Oh my god, she is a completely different person. I loved her performance in this. It is
Yeah,
so
I only know her from Scream,
mhm.
and where she was great. She was great in that as like, the killer.
He
Forgot
was
that she
in
was.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, but it was very limited. She was like, almost, like even like Austin Butler, who's in that, also very, limited, like one of those smaller roles in that film. Same thing with Margaret Qualley too. Um, hell, even Margot Robbie barely in that. But whole other
Um,
conversation.
but yeah, she
She's
if it's
great.
not if the Oscar doesn't go to Demi Moore, I hope it goes to her
It's
because
not.
I know. But I would say that also with Honora, I found it to be deeply empathetic to everyone involved, especially when it talked about her relationship with Vanya,
Yeah.
because you saw like you kind of almost see how like this is so doomed really early, but their chemistry and performances are so strong. You're kind of wondering, will you be subverted? Will you like the rugby pulled from? Will you be shocked by it? Is it going to go fantastical? But then by the end, you're kind of like, you know what? She's going to be good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like she's just such a well realized character. You can kind of have all of these relatively positive affirmations about her by the end. And she's just like, I haven't thought about an individual character more than Honora. And it's, I don't know if I would call it like Sean Baker's, my favorite Sean Baker film is still Tangerine, but this would definitely be up there. Like if this was somebody's favorite, I would totally get it.
Oh, I completely agree. Honora, I think, is part of that. We've been talking about it, sexy cinema that's come back in a way, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
like so sophisticated and so much story and substance there that
Yeah.
like you even forget that she's like a quote unquote like sex worker per se.
Yeah.
Uh,
The movie doesn't have a judgmental light on it. That's what
Yeah,
I
and if
like really
anything,
nice about it.
and if anything, they take sex work very seriously. Like they
yeah,
present, like especially in that one scene when she's arguing with the strip club owner about her hours, and she's like, "When you give me health care and a 401k and benefits, then you can tell me when I can or can't work." And I'm just like, these are real issues in the community. So like, kudos for at least giving it light. And also, they kind of use sex work and even sex as they present it as an aspect of her life, but it's
right.
not the only thing that defines her. It's not like her entire world revolves around, because I think one cliche with sex workers in films is they either add an element of trauma or tragedy, or they just make it their entire personality.
Yeah.
And with Nora, it's definitely a feature of who she is, but there's more to her than that.
Yeah.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah, I think Honora is definitely a break. I'm curious to see what she does next. I know she's been talking about taking a break after this and not doing much and not being seen for a while, which is interesting. But
Yeah,
I'm very curious to see what Miss Madison does next.
yeah, she's earned a break. Like let her take a break. I feel like critics, producers, press people, whoever need to be more considerate of actors if they want to like take a little time off for a while. It's I can imagine, especially from when I think it was on her. It was in I think it was either her roundtable or something. She was talking about the shoot itself
Mhm.
and how because it was low budget when they needed to steal shots because they couldn't afford permits or location scouting or anything like that. They just needed to get what they needed and run. I can't imagine how intense the filmmaking was. So I would imagine that plus her press tour. If she needs a break, give her a break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Do your thing. Coming in number three.
Number three was I Saw the TV Glow.
Mm.
This film scared the shit out of me. This like I was already a fan of Jane Schoenberg and their work with We're All Going to the World's Fair, because
Yeah.
that film I also found conceptually terrifying and haunting with the way it sort of showed online culture and online trends. And as a person who's already tries to be, I like being a bit quiet on social media sometimes in my personal life. So that level of exposure they showed in World's Fair definitely scared the hell out of me. I I saw the TV Glow had some of the most real conceptual horror I have felt out of any horror film this year, with the way it can show somebody not realizing until it's too late how their life is slipping away, whether it's sort of by living a lie or not taking a risk, or I mean, in this case, it's a very strong trans allegory, the idea of not really coming out as your true self and just living in the shell you crafted. And then before you know it, you're in, like your best years have slipped away and you can't get them back. It portrayed all of that in a very subtle, very creeping and disturbed way without being graphic. Like I don't like a Serbian film. I don't like a lot of films that think that disturbing means you have to be shock for the sake of shock or overly vulgar or overly or like just trying way too hard just to beat disturbing imagery into you. I found I saw the TV Glow way more disturbing just by how honest it was at capturing a truly existentially terrifying idea. And Justice
Mhm.
Smith, he was fantastic in this film. I didn't know
I
he was
love
good.
Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, he was always I thought he was always a fine actor, but I didn't know he had this visceral I don't know if it's a real word, viscerality, like this visceral performance in him. And that whole haunting scream for help at the end, I still find it chilling.
But it also has like an interesting like cast too. Like, I mean, Fred Durst.
Yeah, yeah, Fred Durst is in it, and that's pretty awesome. just his existence in it is great.
With
Yeah, and
this
even Danielle
Y2K, he's in one of
Day-Lewis
the best films of
killing
the
it.
year and one of the worst films of the year.
Yeah, and also Bridget Looney Payne is fantastic too.
Mm.
Like the way like they kind of showed this person who, you know, the person who kind of gets out of the suburbs and is
Yeah.
sort of builds a life for themselves and like really has no business being there aside from being born there. And but you don't really know whether they're fully honest or sinister or fucking with you, but that kind of makes it really cool. Like this is a person you could see yourself really being friends with in high school and exchanging videotape. Like their whole dynamic of exchanging VHS tapes of their favorite TV show. Speaking as somebody that used to watch like cult shows and anime and like different YouTube 10-minute increments and sharing them with friends, and that's how you make your friend group. That felt very real to me.
Yes, I remember passing. Oh gosh, I'm showing my age, but I remember like sharing VHS tapes of like different cool things that I like got a hold of, like on like the black market of things that like
Mm-hmm.
weren't like like just like at the store, like your local Blockbuster to buy. Of like, oh, like this has like the original anime version of like you would just share it and like and it had like the dub, not the dub, but it has like the you know the
Subtitle.
the subtitles at the bottom. It's like I remember doing that, and like that's how you like, oh, everyone's passing the tape around of like the original, the full season of Dragon Ball before it hits TV, or because it would come out in Japan way earlier, of course. So like we were getting it way late.
This is the tape of the early OVA of Evangelion.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like I would for me it's like, oh hey, this is the tape of ECW with the original music unlicensed music.
Right, that kind of shit. I was just like, okay, this is cool. But yeah, I remember you like, you passing the tapes around and different stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I that film I haven't watched it since I saw it in theater. I did buy it because A24 has started doing their own physical releases, so I got a hold of
Yeah.
that. I don't know when I'll watch it again because that I needed a break after seeing that film.
You should do a watch party.
I'm down.
Watch Friday, let's do it.
Oh yeah.
And Josh, what's coming in at number two?
Number two, Jake,
Yes, Josh.
the People's Joker. You're wrong with your 2-star rating.
There's no such thing as opinions anymore.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the People's Joker is my number two. I love that
Oh,
film. Yeah, the People's Joker. I needed basically when we get to our worst films. Most of the time, when I think of I would consider a film the worst or terrible, is if I find it bland and conventional and uninteresting. And the People's Joker was so chaotic, but in a way that made sense. Like it didn't just feel like random shit. Like it was definitely Vera Drew kind of wore her like Adult Swim influences on her sleeve with the film, but
okay.
the way she kind of showed how pop culture, I mean, for her it's the Batman mythos, but just how pop culture in general can impact your personality, impact your relationships, and sometimes even help you contextualize what you're feeling. I thought was very real. Like, I mean, like we're all movie fans, and we all sometimes will share a film that's based on just a mood we're in or something we're trying to express. And I thought that the way she kind of incorporated the Batman mythos into what her like the anxieties that she was feeling transitioning, but even after she transitioned and trying to make her way through her new identity and her relationships with other people and her family, it felt like all of the chaos and all the anti-humor and all the actual humor, it served a point to inform her perspective and how she was forging these relationships. And I thought that she did a fantastic job with that. It's such
Okay.
a
I can
personal.
appreciate anybody trying to take on like some of the Batman mythos and like and doing something different and interesting with it. Like, especially for us comic book nerds, like, we have to, I can look at it as like an Elseworlds type story per se. But I can always, there's a reason why people keep winning awards for Batman characters.
Well,
It's a lot of stuff there to like really dive into.
like I was thinking back to, did any of you see Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Of course.
I
Great
hated
movie.
it. Um,
I thought
Oh,
it was okay, but then like I started remembering less and less of it as I
well,
went
like
along.
oh, I enjoyed that.
the reason I hated Ready Player One, and the reason I think the People's Joker does a better job doing what I think Ready Player One wanted to do, is Ready Player One felt like somebody just listing things that they liked because it felt like they were trying to impress you, being like, "Oh, here's Gundam and the Iron Giant fighting King Kong or Godzilla or something, and here's the here's the um, I don't know, Mandalorian, here's the DeLorean that's in this race with going through a King Kong." It just felt like somebody listing shit they liked, but didn't really get into why it was meaningful to them. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even need a whole essay. It didn't really feel like it was going into the relationship with the pop culture, just kind of throwing it at you. Meanwhile, the People's Joker, the references and Easter eggs felt like it was serving a purpose of why these things were meaningful to Vera Drew growing up, because it is also semi-autobiographical, and she used pop culture to kind of inform what she was feeling, why she was feeling it, how these influences were helping her process. It felt very personal that way. It didn't feel like she was just listing shit for the sake of listing shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Comment number one, numero uno.
My number one was Perfect Days.
So I wanted to ask you about that.
Sure.
Like, is that was that last year or was that this year?
It had its American release this year. It technically qualified last year for best
Oh,
international
it's a
Oscars.
technicality there. Okay.
Technicality. It's a
If I had known
technicality.
that, I would have picked that as my favorite.
Yeah, like I mean, it's our list. We could do what we want, right? But I just say, because since it had its American release this year, I put it on my list for this year. I found it to be one of the most, when people say a film is meditative, I feel like they're sometimes just covering up for saying it's boring or slow, but this felt meditative in a real way. The way they were showing this
Mm,
guy just living his day and going through Japan was so peaceful and thoughtful. I felt like I could just sort of sit with the movie and just be along the ride with this guy's life. And it was funny. It was pleasant. At times, it was kind of heart wrenching, especially with when they hint at what happened to him. They don't really go into a ton of detail, but you kind of put two to two together. But something did kind of happen where this really brilliant guy sort of fell down and couldn't get out of it, but he made the most of his life anyway. I found it just a beautiful, peaceful, well shot, well acted film. And even the scenes where there was a bit more narrative structure, like his relationship with his younger partner at the with this janitorial company, and how the other guy was kind of a flake and was sort of like roped him in like a party with him and his girlfriend trying to go to a record store, and him being like, I didn't want to do this, but this is pretty cool. Nice knowing that this record store exists where I get some tapes. Like those little real life unexpected moments, I thought were handled so naturally, and I loved it. I really, really, really loved it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Josh. And the funny thing is, like, even in the scenes where, like, because I know somebody who actually used this in her college class as a way to show what it means to live in the present moment, and all the students said they found it boring. But the funny thing
oh,
is that in the like what they call the boring scenes, there is actually something happening. He's he's responding, he's living it, he's not reacting to his surroundings. The surroundings are like doing
Exactly.
all the acting, they're doing all the decisions for him.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Like
mm.
him being present is doing something. It's part of how mindfulness works. Like the act of just being where you are and taking it in is an action.
Yeah. And by the way, Josh, you know how much I love this movie?
How much?
I realized that the camera he was using, the Olympus film camera, I have that. And I
Oh,
pulled
you
it
do?
out of my storage and I actually went around and took some pictures of trees myself.
That's so cool. That's
Aw.
awesome. Are you gonna do any? Are you gonna do any like video with it, or are you gonna mostly just take pictures?
It only does pictures.
Okay.
Uh,
Sorry, I thought you meant the
Like this was
camera
like from the
equipment.
early 90s.
This is how much I don't know about camera equipment. But that's really cool. Are you gonna post them anywhere? I would actually love to see them.
Well, first things first, I gotta get them developed because I finally used up the reel, so I just gotta find a photo store near me that can do this.
oh, that's so
There,
cool.
if you happen to go by, if you happen to be in my area, I know there's a spot not too far from me that does develop pictures, like develop film camera pictures. So I could send you the info later.
Josh, I think you owe us one more technically.
Okay, you want me to?
That
Oh,
was nominated for last year's Oscar.
okay.
So
Hey, look,
I will
I have
say,
a
like,
whole.
so since we both consider Perfect Days to be the best, I still stand by my list, but I want to share the top spot with Perfect Days and The Substance. I want them both to share it.
That's cool, but
okay.
I will fulfill OJ's requirement because honestly, look, I have a whole. This was actually a great year for movies, in my opinion. Like I found so many fascinating films, and we already talked about Dune Part Two, which would have been my number, which would have gone like right before See the Sacred Fig. So I'll go with a different one. It was called Femme.
Oh, fam.
Yeah, like you want to talk about bringing sexiness back in movies.
Ooh,
While
fam is
I know
hot.
that, well, I know that with I always consider Challengers and even the like Baby Girl, which came out
Uh-huh.
earlier. I consider those more erotic dramas than anything. This is
Right.
a thriller. Like
Sexy
this is an
rom-coms.
erotic thriller with the sex and the tension and the buildup in all of the best ways where you are uncomfortable. You don't really know if you like what you're seeing, but you're still so entranced by it that you want a little more. So this film, like for anyone for like I don't know who hasn't seen it or heard of it, it's about a drag queen that gets attacked by gangsters after a show, but then it turns out one of the main gangster is
On the
closeted.
DL.
So the drag queen comes up with a plan to secretly seduce, without him knowing who she is, seduce him so that she can out him via revenge porn.
Oh yes, but then obviously things get crazy because nothing goes according to plan because
Nope.
it is a cinema after all.
Nothing
Um,
goes according to plan. Feelings are caught and conflicted, and you don't know how far people are willing to go anymore. Changes happen that no one expects. It's a roller coaster. It is an intense experience. It's a brutal experience. I loved every second of it. The performances were fantastic from
it
everybody
really
involved.
was. I couldn't agree more. Like it's so funny. Popped up on like a dark website I visit occasionally. Um,
OJ.
and it just popped up, and I was just like, I had not heard of the film. I had just not seen it. It just said them, and then the year, and I was like, oh, what's this? So I just clicked it, and then it was like the whole movie on this site that should not be named. And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is good. Like, why is this on here? It was crazy. I absolutely loved them.
It feels like that and the movie Red Rooms are the two films that you would watch on a dark website in the middle of the night.
You'd be surprised what you find on a dark website. A lot of Luca Guadagnino, there's a lot of stuff on there.
hmm But yeah,
Yeah.
Femme I loved. Thankfully, it has a home release, so buy it. Buy all the
Yes,
films I
please
told you
support
about.
fam. Don't go to the dark web.
Yeah,
Support
support Femme.
fam.
Yeah, that's technically because like Dune 2 would have been my sixth, so Femme is my seven.
Oh, I love that.
I think we
Uh,
could all safely say that Doom Part 2 was like the best blockbuster, but there were so many like great movies after it.
Yeah.
oh, I don't
Well,
know. Dune
OJ,
2 was the best blockbuster.
OJ, yeah, you got to
Yeah,
do your list.
let's do
You got
yours.
to do
Uh,
your best list. What do you got?
well, speaking of the best blockbuster, I think coming in at number five, I think Wicked was the best blockbuster of the year.
Wicked was fantastic. I will
It
give that.
was decent.
Yeah, it was decent for me. Like someone who's like an avid fan of not liking musicals. like I just don't I can't get into him. Like I'm not a big Broadway girly. I'm like ugh. But like I thought the performances in Wicked were great.
Yeah.
And I had such maybe because I had such low expectations going into it, but especially with Ariana Grande in particular, who I think for the most part carried the film with her comedy, her charm, and her wit. I just thought that it was a very solid film, and I was like pleasantly surprised. It's kind of like I think this year's Barbie for sure in a lot of ways, especially with
Yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
marketing and how everything was presented, and just even I was talking to Cynthia about it actually with like just like the iconic press tour that they went on, just like every interview they did just went viral. I'm just
Mhm.
like they're like crying and singing to each other every chance they get. It was
So I guess everybody now has to cry to sell their movies.
I mean, or like it'd be able to sing on key on call, just like
Well,
it was
not just that.
great.
Like Cynthia Erivo did a whole live musical number while swinging on a harness. Like
Right.
that is. I mean, everyone's talking about how great Ariana Grande is, and I agree she was fantastic. But I do think Cynthia Erivo deserves her props
Oh
Yeah,
for
yeah,
this
absolutely.
1000%.
film musically. Like I'm not a big Wicked person. I do love musicals, and kind of like with Dune, I'm holding back giving too much praise until the second part comes out because
Yeah.
it's only one film. But I did really enjoy Wicked, and a lot of it was yeah, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Their chemistry was fantastic together. Their singing was excellent. I thought that even Jeff Goldblum as the wizard was great
Oh
casting.
yeah, great casting.
That little homage to the great dictator in the movie, I thought was really cute and clever. I love that.
That was pretty cool.
And I agree, and it's nice to see. I think blockbusters remembering we need to use real sets. We need
Yeah.
to make our epics epic. We need to, if we're gonna make these large scale movies, we can't do it all in like a domed green screen room. Like
Yeah.
we need to show that these people are acting on stages in the right way.
I couldn't agree more. I think, and I don't think John Chu as a director gets enough
Oh,
um, credit. I think
Absolutely.
he's come such a long way from Step Up 2,
not to
um,
forget GI Joe
And
Retaliation.
and Jennifer
which was on
Lawrence.
TV the other day, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. That was like the Rock's year that year. But yeah, I think John Chu doesn't get enough respect. I think he's like did an incredible job, and I'm hoping part two is a success.
Yeah, and honestly, I hope he gets more work because he killed it with In the Heights. He's killing it with Wicked. If they ever, I've heard that I've kind of seen that he might be doing Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat as a movie. That could be interesting. If Hades Town gets a movie, I would totally get John Chu to do it.
Yeah, listen, as somebody who has John Chu's directed me in a little film called Step Up 3D.
Yay!
Yay.
I gotta look for you next time I watch it.
Please
That's
don't.
right. Like you've had a secret Hollywood career, OJ, and now I finally know one of your titles.
Right. This is the one reveal. Thankfully, our viewership is not high. So,
You never know. Like we're talking about Wicked, it could go viral.
it could
Yeah,
go viral.
this will be the one that goes viral, and ever when the main takeaway is that you were in Step Up 3D.
Right. Directed by John M. Chu.
Well, that
But
and me rating The People's Joker 2 out of 5 stars. Like we have two anecdotes for people to see in this video.
please let that not be the takeaway. I will die.
Josh, you're gonna have to do something. Like you need something in this video.
Okay, maybe when we get to the worst list,
Yeah, we still have a whole other list to go through.
Yes.
Um, coming in at number four, I debated number three and four. I went back and forth a lot. Um, but I settled on Inside Out 2 being at number four.
oh,
Uh,
that was a great movie.
it was just a great film. It's just like they just know how to get me, like honestly, and just like the whole her going from like I guess adolescence to preteen. It's so relatable. And it always will be one of those relatable stories that will be the test of time. We'll see these stories over and over again for as long as there is cinema. But they just did it really, really well. And I thought the addition of all the I don't know what to call them, I guess like sensories or emotions.
Emotions. Yeah,
Emotions.
emotions.
Yeah, emotions were I think fantastic and all made sense, especially it's in today's world of that we live in with the kids that we have today. But it was just well done. I think the voice acting, just all of it was just super charm. Like it just gets you. I love Inside Out too. It was
Well,
amazing.
Maya Hawke's performance as anxiety deserves to be recognized as a standout. She was
1000. I was like, if you can nominate like a voice acting, I would nominate Maya Hawke for sure because she nailed it.
like
Kids'
I like
Choice Awards, we're looking at you.
well, I thought that I liked that they made anxiety technically an antagonist, but not exactly malicious or ill intent. Like they kind of go into how anxiety is a natural emotion to have at times, whether it's like I think even in the movie near the end, they're like, okay, calm down this, but oh, there is a Spanish test coming up. We better prepare for that. We don't want to fail. I'm like, yeah, that's a time when anxiety is useful and helpful, but it shows how it can get out of hand, how it can get harmful. And that scene when she's having the anxiety attack and she's running
Yes.
Yeah, she's like the
around,
Tasmanian devil.
it's the most real depiction of having an anxiety attack and like your mind racing that I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you brought up something interesting, Josh, and this goes back to the first film. Like there are no villains in the Inside Out movies. Like they're all people who have like their best intentions for the Riley character, but
It's
yeah.
it's
everything needs
healthy.
to be balanced because one emotion, like there's too much happiness or too much anxiety or too much of anything, honestly, it could throw you out of whack.
Yeah, like I've heard that an example of having good mental health is when you can hold two conflicting or three conflicting emotions together in the same place.
Yeah.
So I think especially for kids, it's really healthy to show that anxiety, like, emotions that might sound negative, technically like sadness or anger or
Or
anxiety
envy.
or envy, like they all have a place one way
Yeah.
or another. And
Yeah.
I think that the both Inside Out movies, but two especially, I kind of liked two a little bit more than one, but that's not discounting one in the slightest. I think that it's a very important film.
I agree. And I think especially for the demo that it's targeting, I think it's gonna help a lot of kids, learn about balance and knowing that all the emotions you are experiencing are all okay and expected and it's just like figuring out, what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
That we're always taught, there's always a villain in somebody's story, like you guys said, but like there is no villain technically. Everything's all about balance. And so I think the message this movie gives is just great.
Yeah.
Um, Coming in at number three, is Wolverine and Deadpool. I thought it was a great film. It was a return to form for Marvel. I think Marvel needed this win so badly.
It did need it. It really
Like
did.
they needed this. And just like kudos to Ryan Reynolds to giving us perfect fan service. It was like exactly what the fanboys wanted. He gave it to us like correctly how we wanted it. It's like when some you want like your meal a certain way, you want it like cooked a certain way, and like he just knows how to cook the right meal that we all like to eat. Like he like cooked the perfect steak. Like you know what, like this is
Bloody
exactly
rare.
how I like it. No complaints. Like you served it the best way.
I agree. I think that it's definitely the best use of fan service I've seen in a long time because I liked the overarching idea that stories that some people you would think don't care about still deserve
Right.
love and still have fans. Like I'm like speaking as somebody who has my own fair share of movies that I love that I know no one gives a shit about and most people don't like. I like that they're drawing on the fact that stories matter even if they're not popular, like with the usage of Elektra and the usage of like Gambit, but with the Channing Tatum, which was fantastic. And I love that theme, and I think that it was executed well in the film.
Yeah. And also they didn't sacrifice the tone of the Deadpool movies. That's what my major worry was with it being under the Disney banner, that they would,
Oh, it was bloody. It
you
was
know,
very
it
bloody.
was bloody and they actually took a couple of really good pot shots at Disney and Marvel in the state of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love
It's quite
that
incredible.
Feige let Ryan just do his thing. and didn't like put the shackles on. It goes back to like we were talking about earlier, just like letting the creators have control.
Well,
Um,
Ryan's got aviation gin. Anything he says goes.
yes.
Look,
Um,
Disney is not bigger than aviation gin. Nothing is.
no, no, not at all. Yeah, I think Ryan, we'll see if we get more Deadpool. I'm sure Disney's gonna write a big check,
He's gonna be
but
doing it till he's 90.
right. Well, we know, yeah, Hugh Jackman's coming back. But I thought,
Blade, please. Please, can we get Blade? Please. Somehow.
which Blade?
Well, I
Any
mean,
at
like
this
the new
point.
Blade's like basically off the schedule as far as I know. Or did they put it back on? Is it still off?
It's still off as far as I've seen.
Hmm. Well,
I'm never
this
gonna forget.
well, I think Wesley Snipes' appearance is basically going to bury the new one in the ground because I think people are unwilling to let someone else play Blade at this point.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, I
I'm
don't know. I
I
don't
would
know if
like to see
Wesley's up for another film.
I mean, I would like to see Michelle Ali's take on it, but you know how fandoms are.
I mean, I could
Yeah, I
have
think
gone for just Mahershala Ali being Blade, but having Wesley Snipes be like a mentor or something for Mahershala Ali. I feel like that's easy to do, and Wesley Snipes can still go. Like I don't know what's. I was hoping that after Dolomite is My Name and even Expendables 3, that he would make a more substantive comeback because he's still very talented. But I don't know what he's doing.
I do not want to see a 62-year-old Blade on my screen.
That's
If it's Wesley
ageist.
Snipes doing it, he can still go.
As much as I love Wesley Snipes and his portrayal as Blade, I thought Mahershala Ali's casting as Blade was perfect.
I agree. I
No, no,
completely
I,
agree.
I agree.
And it was even not it wasn't even his fucking idea. It wasn't even Marvel's idea, it was his idea.
Mm-hmm.
Uh it was just after winning his second Oscar, he went to Feige. He was like, "Hey, can we have a meeting?" He's like, "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" He's like, "What are you doing with Blade?" I'm like, "Well, you tell me." Like, I want to do. I'm like, perfect. Like, so the fact that Mahershala like knew that and like so I love that. But and I get why it's I respect that he wants the film to be well and done well. So if it's not good and Marvel's been giving us Dookie for
Yeah,
couple
it's
years.
about Dookie. Feige said, "Let's put you in Eternals, and we'll let it grow from there."
Right. So I mean there's rumors of us like pivoting to Midnight Suns, which could be interesting. Um
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great comic book story, but it's also like another team up. But we'll see. I hope we get it. But I thought Deadpool and Wolverine was great. Jackman continues to do well with Wolverine. Um,
By the way, did any of you get the any of the popcorn buckets?
yes,
I don't have space for it. I don't have a popcorn
it
bucket.
was destroyed, but yes.
I have the only popcorn buckets I have is a John Wick 4 popcorn bucket, a Bar Pants and Batman popcorn bucket, and that is it. I wanted to get the Gladiator popcorn bucket just
Did
because
you?
I could say
Like
it
the
looked like,
Coliseum.
well, it looked like a Gladiator helmet. So I was like, I could just tell people this is MF Doom.
Oh, okay.
But
That's so.
I
Yeah,
just never got it. And I was same for the Nosferatu coffin popcorn bucket. I wanted to get that one, but it's
yeah. But the when I did the nocturnal viewing for Deadpool and Wolverine, they gave me the popcorn bucket that had Wolverine's mask on it.
Yeah, which was
And
pretty
very good.
solid.
Yeah,
it was a
it was a
choice.
good popcorn bucket.
Um, Coming in at number
Too.
two for me is Nickel Boys. Um,
Oh,
Nickel Boys is an amazing, amazing film. Director Ramel Ross. I don't often, I feel like, see innovative filmmaking with like the styles of how you present your typical film. But I thought Ramel, and I think he's getting a lot of love for it, and I'm so happy about it. He's getting a lot of best director nods. Um, the the creative choices were all super unique and felt super fresh and new for this type of story and for this type of topic and this type of film. I thought it was done really extremely well. Um, Actress Audrey Ellis Taylor, another actress I worked with on another film. I won't say the
Okay.
film. I won't say what film we did
One
together.
day we'll do a top 10 movies that OJ has been in list.
Well, we already
Right?
have Step Up 3D. Question
Yeah.
is, what's it going to be at by the time we get to number 10?
Right. What movie did me and Audrey work on together is the question. It is, but no, but Audrey is such a tour de force. Like I mean, and I think hopefully now she is not seen as underrated because everything she's in from King Richard, which she got nominated for an Oscar for, to, I mean, shit, she's been around for so long doing her thing. This lady was an undercover brother.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
she is I mean, Icon Origin, which was directed by Ava DuVernay last
I
year,
love
which
Origin.
was amazing. She was
Yeah.
amazing in Origin. So I think Audrey was finally getting her recognition in this, and I just thought her and Ramel were magic together. The magic. Highly recommend.
When I did the interviews of the with Romo Ross and the rest of the cast of Nickel Boys for Nocturnal, and they were all talking about working with working with these rigs and cameras attached to their bodies so that they could do the POV. And
Yeah.
it was not just to like lug it, but also to maintain chemistry with each other without looking at someone directly in the eye because they had to keep looking at the camera. The amount of skill is unprecedented. This
Absolutely.
was incredible. This really was.
No, it was really amazing. Like I think I don't know how he came up with that idea or what made him think of that to have that kind of POV experience, especially with this type of story and this type of film. But I thought he did the execution of it was perfect.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm super excited to see what Ramel comes to do like, later with his career because I think he's gonna. I think a lot of people are really excited about what the capabilities now, just having seen Nickel Boys.
Yeah.
He's
I
an
think we've been
OG.
saying it throughout this podcast. Like this was a year for tours to stand out in this transition
Yeah,
we're in.
exactly. It's definitely been a very heavy auteur year for short film filmmakers, and I think Ramel is rising to to the top of that in a
Yes.
lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming in number one for me, as I'm sharing it with Jake, is um The Substance.
Yes.
It was highly it was like such a captivating film. I can't say enough about the performance Demi gave in this film. I mean, what a fucking roller coaster of a ride you go on. Like I just like it's still I can like I've only watched it one time. I still want to watch it a couple more times, but just like the crazy story you go on from start to finish is like insane.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where I, go back to me later on. I just lost my thought.
Just so I'm not fully left out of this, the substance is in my top 20 of the year. It's just
Top
not.
20.
Yeah, it's in
Top
my
20.
20. Yeah, so I did thoroughly. I just want to make sure that I want to be included.
No, but please, you like The Substance is definitely like I'm sure going to be on a lot of critics' top 10 this year. It's just
It's
an incredible film.
Yeah.
yeah,
So what I was gonna say, OJ, was that it's weird because I've only seen The Substance once, but it's like stuck with me, and I wanted
Yeah,
to
it's
watch it.
stuck with you. It's one of those films that just I can picture almost every frame still.
Yeah, it's like I want to watch it again, but it feels so sacred. It feels like you need to be in the right place at the right time to watch it. And I
yeah.
saw it with a crowd at BAM, and it was perfect for me there.
I actually do have a question for both of you. Between the substance and revenge, which one did you two like more?
Oh,
Revenge?
Yeah, that was the film that the director did before the substance, right?
yeah.
Yes, yes. That I actually never saw Revenge. The Substance was the first thing I've seen from this director.
Oh, you got to watch Revenge.
Yeah, that's hard. That's
Yeah.
hard. I would say, oh, I'm gonna go with The Substance still.
Mm. I'm
Yeah.
inclined to agree, but it's that just shows the strength of both films. Like honestly, Jake, you got to see Revenge is such a fantastic film, especially if you like the substance. I wouldn't say it's not as gleefully gory and it's still it's intense. It's a
And, you
brutal and intense.
know, the thing is, you can't expect the same exact film from a director. Like, you gotta let them do different things. If that means,
You do,
Oh, of
and
course.
you definitely see the growth, but also like, but the style is still there.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the best way to
like
put
you
it.
gotta see their touch somewhere.
Mhm.
Exactly. All right, guys, this is where our top five films. Thank you guys for watching Nocturnal Movie Club. In the comments, let us know your favorite top films of the year. We want to know. We want to watch it. We'll send us recommendations. We always are looking for more ideas and different things. So please comment. But thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Take it.